Hello and warmly welcome to this kickoff of the SSE Mentorship Program 2020. I am so happy to meet you all at this very socially safe distance, so to say, and thank you for joining this kickoff. My name is Mia Örn and I work here at the SSE. I coach and I am the senior advisor for personal and professional development. And I have some colleagues here in the studio with me and I shall be introducing them a little later on. So I will have the honor, I get some feedback from my dear colleagues here. Can I keep going? Okay, perfect. So I was just about to say that I have the great honor to guide you through this hour we have tonight. And I hope that by the time we finish here today, that you will feel that you have a good position to start a very fruitful mentorship experience. You will get some hands-on tool to help you with that, and mostly this evening we will be dedicating to gathering and sharing experience from previous mentor and mentees. You will also be invited to share with your mentor in mentor pairs with other mentor pairs as well in breakout sessions in about half an hour. So though I'm sitting here in a nice studio at Sveavägen 65, I shall not be broadcasting the whole evening. It will be really about engaging. I hope that you will keep this question that we asked in the invitation in mind, which was, what would you like to get out of being part of this program? So if you have that in the back of your mind, we shall soon get back to that. But before we have a look at the program for tonight, I would just like to start with a few housekeeping rules here about video, voice, chats and recordings, and about the video. It would be lovely to see you at least a bit today. So if you keep your video on, I think that's wonderful for connecting. And about the voice, we're many here tonight, so we've taken our liberty to mute you all. But if you want to engage, just let us know, maybe in the chat, and I have some help with monitoring the chat as well. And also, I wanted to point out that we are recording the session, and just so you know, and we will be sharing that later on as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's have a look at tonight's program. And I am clicking away here to see if something happens. Maybe it doesn't, so I will ask my dear colleague. Thank you, Anna. So, as I said, we're happy to invite former mentors and a mentee to a panel where you will also be able to ask them questions about how they went about when they were mentoring or mentees. And in about half an hour, we'll break you out into those discussion sessions. And at the end, I will also be sharing some tips that we've gathered through the years, and also based on my own work as a coach here, and some techniques that I find really useful in engaging with the students. We'll finish off with Q&As if there is any questions like that, and at 1800 Stockholm time, we will be finished today. Okay. So first, just very quickly, a stop at FREE, which is the SSE educational mission. I am sure you might have heard of that. It's based on the idea that students need so much more than just the education that you can read about in the school. So the F stands for fact and science-based mindset. The R for reflective and self-aware. The first E stands for empathetic and culturally literate. And the last E stands for entrepreneurial and responsible. And this is something that guides us at the school. And I just wanted to really draw your attention to the R and the E maybe, in this case, where we find that we tick the boxes very well of free in this mentorship program. So having said that, you are all very important for the greater kind of work at the school as well. Okay. So what about the mentorship program? What is this? Well, we find it's beautiful that you as mentors invest your time in giving to the school, to the students in this way, to support them to take that step or that leap into professional life from their studies. And we think supportive relationship is a good way of explaining or summarizing what mentorship is about. And it's helped by the structure and that it's time bound and that it's really a self-managed process, but it has kind of that framework that supports a process in your mentorship. And then the final point we wanted to make is also that it's really interdisciplinary by its nature, and it's collaborative. So though the student is like in the driver's seat of the mentorship program, it's really that a collaboration is needed, obviously. But we also wanted to make a point that it really is a way also to have insights into maybe other fields than you thought you would be looking at when you started studying here. So maybe you have a mentor from a totally different professional path than you envision yourself to embark on. But there's something beautiful also from learning from different disciplinaries. Okay, so we can move on to the next slides. I just listed some benefits that we've heard witnesses talk about from previous years, that the students talk about, that they get a chance to expand their comfort zone and really get that insight into professional lives. But it's also a way of like lifting the perspective and looking long term and how to balance career and life. I also wanted to make a point about it maybe being a way to expand your network, but it's not a recruitment thing. It's not like your mentor is going to serve you a job on a silver platter. That's not what we're just managing expectations that it's not what we're after in this program. Okay. On the mentor side, we've heard that it's been really useful to get new perspective and access to the latest research and really pick the brains of future leaders. So we hope that this is also for you mentors an interesting, inspiring, and self-development activity as well that you'll embark on. Now, over to you. We really wanted to ask you here with the poll in the Zoom meeting, what would you like to get out of the program? So that question I referred to. Now, there's a poll active, so if you'd like to choose, I think, can they pick now? Yeah. And you see if you're a mentor or if you're a student, which ones you should answer. And maybe you don't find the correct answer there, but pick something that's kind of leaning your way. The answers are still ticking in here, I see. Yeah, so do we think that everybody might have? Okay, so let's have a look at that result. What do you want to get out of the program? I see that, where are we? 32 among mentors, that's the highest score, right? No, 34% is making an impact and influence young and aspiring minds. Yeah, that's beautiful. And on 32%, we have better understand the realities and challenges of the next generation. I can really identify with those, being a coach here as well. It's half of the fun is just for me because it's so wonderful talking to these bright minds of the next generation. Okay, so let's have a look at, I don't know if I need to scroll here. Yes. So among the students, we have 43% looking at learning about different industries, organizations, and various opportunities. Yeah, so very hands-on, concrete, looking into different industries. Like I said, we have a wide variety of industries in this program. So yeah, and enhance career readiness skills. Great. Thank you for sharing that. It's also very interesting and good for us from the school who are organizing this to see what are your reasons for being here. Okay, so having finished that part, we shall now move on to the panel of mentors, or two mentors who have been with us before, and one student who was part of the program last year. And we are so grateful that you've agreed to join us here today. So we have, I'm looking across the table here at Gustav, because we have Gustav with us at the SSE today. Welcome, Gustav.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Gustav Rössner, you're the CEO of Great People.
That's correct.
Nice to have you here in the studio.
Great to be back.
And also, we have Anita Karlsson-Dion with us in the US. And Ellen, I see showing up here as well. So I just wanted to start with Anita Karlsson-Dion. Do you want to say hello so you end up, so everybody can see you?
Sure, let me do that. Good afternoon, everybody from New York State.
Great, Anita. Good afternoon. Great to have you here. You're the General Manager of Cognitive Processes Services at IBM. So coming across the pond. Thank you for being with us. And then Ellen Brantberg. Can you also say hello? Hi, Ellen. Great to see you. You're a second-year master student this year, right?
Yeah, and I was the lucky one to be Anita's mentee last year as well.
Yes, so that's great. Thank you both for being with us here today. I wanted to connect everybody, and I'm going to do this three-dimensional now, online, offline interview with you here. I'm going to start with Gustav, who's right next to me. You have been with us from the very start in this program, right?
Yep.
Since 2013, I hear. What motivated you to start, and what motivates you to come back year after year?
So I actually started when I came back to Sweden after having been abroad for 7 years. So I thought it was a really good chance to kind of reconnect with the school in many different ways. I also worked on the alumni, the previous Kamratföreningen, on the board there. So I thought this was really a really fun way to re-engage with the school in as many different ways as possible to do that. So, and I've loved every day since, so still in touch with almost all of the mentees that I've had over those 7 years.
Oh, you've kept in touch as well.
Of course.
That's beautiful to hear. Thank you, Gustav. Anita, why did you join?
So I think, so I've been living in New York now for over 20 years, and felt it was a great way to connect back with alumni of the school. And I'm just always interested in leadership or coaching and develop young talent, both with IBM and outside, and felt it was maybe a good way to give something back, and more importantly, learn something new as well, and get different perspectives from what I'm seeing over here at this point in time.
Thank you, Anita. And Ellen, why did you decide to join?
I think I can echo that as well, of gaining new perspectives, and it's such a good opportunity to have somebody who is an experienced professional and really have them listen to your needs, and that's an opportunity that I think you should really benefit from as a mentee as well.
Thank you. So, Gustav, out of all the things that you've had many mentees, and all of the things that you've done and seen and heard with them, what do you think are the most rewarding dimensions of being a mentor?
I think some of them you already had there on the board or on the slides before. Just the other day, one of my mentees tried to hire me to his company. So I guess that's quite rewarding. That's probably a sign of a good job. And then I think it's the sort of the long-lasting friendships with those people and following them through their career, regardless if the mentor program is open or is sort of done for the year. So I think it's really that keeping in touch and gradually seeing what they do and what they're inspired by and how you can help them along, even if the year is over, so to speak.
Mm. Thank you. That was such a fantastic spin of sometimes we talk about reversed mentorship, right? And now a mentee coming back to hire you. That's like taking that to a whole new dimension. Anita, I wanted to ask you about that also. It sounded like you had a very nice open mind about coaching and learning new perspective and maybe also learning from the mentees. Is there anything that you've picked up through the years that you learned from?
Yes.
Maybe even
so the sad part or the good part here is that I've been working long enough now, so my children are in similar ages to this group of people here, which is, and they are also starting their careers here in the US. So that's fun to kind of connect as to when you're new in the business, looking to find a footing, and what are the challenges or thoughts you have, and how can I, again, help around that and have a dialogue on that. But maybe more importantly is we're in a unique, so I've been with IBM for over 30 years, and we are now in a unique position, most companies, that we have like 4 generations of people in the workplace, right? I'm now unfortunately in the older section, but there are many different type generations down to the millennial, if we're allowed to even use that word anymore. And one key point, a challenge that every organization has, is how do you run a company? How do you get an organization to work with very different perspectives and values across those generations? And primarily, how do you bring the thought leadership and the good part of that, the inclusion, the diversity? How do you kind of capture that so it's not like one generation kind of killing the other three's ideas, because it's not how we used to do it here, right? So for me, it's a way to make sure I stay open as a leader, and can be a more effective leader in my space by better understanding the various generations, and what we have here is one of them.
Thank you. Gustav, is that something that you may not be 4 generations in a global company yet, but is that something you can relate to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you always need to get a younger spin on what you're doing and understanding. For me, I mean, I've bounced product ideas with what we're doing in our company with my mentees, and we've had discussions about why are you doing this via email? It should be on TikTok and stuff like that, which I had never suggested otherwise. So it's really those things like, how do you understand what's going on in the minds of younger? I'm not that much older than they are, but at least it's really good to have that kind of a proof of concept version that you can do and bounce those ideas.
Ellen, I'm so curious. Was there something that did you think about this dimension as a mentee?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the benefits of having different perspectives too. I think that at school it's so easy that like the smallest things get blown out of proportion. It could be like a failed exam, it could be an internship deadline you missed or whatever. And it's so nice to have a mentor to kind of like just help you realize that it's not the end of the world, and kind of help you get back on track and make sure that you continue to work towards your goals, and like whatever, it happens, and then kind of move on. It's very nice to have somebody with a different perspective outside of the student bubble.
I can relate to that there is really like a student bubble, and there's a lot of pressure that the students are under here, and maybe some of you who are yourselves students at the SSE can relate. And I know we also have mentors from our partner companies, and I'm sure you also have a lot of you're under pressure in your careers. So I think that's beautiful that in a sense you as a mentor are someone who's there, who can care, but who can also like not really care because you don't have a vested interest in the student, and they don't have to care so much about you're not a teacher or something. I just wanted to comment on that. And can I steal a little more airtime as well, talking about Ellen to you? If you could say a few words more about this, openly sharing with your mentor, because I know we have, I mean, you're a Swede. We have many international students in the program too, and having myself been a diplomat and lived in many different cultures, I know also that this kind of familiar, non-hierarchic culture that we have in Sweden is not necessarily a positive thing for international students, or you may not know how to handle that, because I think there's so much less of a hierarchy in Sweden generally, and in the mentorship program it should really be not so hierarchic. So just, do you want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, sure. I think as a student, it's so easy to fall into just sitting back and relax and kind of listen in on lectures. But I think this is a forum where you can really kind of get in the driver's seat, and like the mentors are here for us and they want to help us and they want to see us grow and succeed. So really taking the conversation in the direction that you want to and where you feel that it has the most benefit for you. So don't be afraid to do that. And I often tell myself that you can basically ask for anything you want as long as you do it politely. And the worst thing that's going to happen is that your mentor says no, and then that's the end of that and you move on. So don't be afraid to really get in the driver's seat in the conversation and prepare the topics that you feel like this is where I'm interested in, this is what I want to talk about. I think that's, if you do that, you can really get the most out of this program.
And setting the agenda as a student. So I think that was a beautiful point. Gustav, is that something you feel that your mentees do?
So my test every year is always, how long does it take until my mentee or mentees contact me? Because I really think it's up to them to drive the agenda. But then, of course, as soon as they engage, I'm more than happy to be there. And I think, like Ellen said, to be prepared to have things to talk about. Because it's much easier for me as a mentor to know, okay, where does this person want to go? I've experienced people who were just looking for a job, and I've experienced people who were, okay, what should I do? Or totally different, more personal things. So it's really good to bring that into the conversation so that we kind of off the bat know what this is going to be about. And then, of course, sometimes we also use the material that the school has helped with. So kind of set up, okay, these are the 4 things that we want to cover. Some mentees are very much like, okay, I want to go through my resume, and then we kind of had the resume work through the whole session. So it's really then coming back to those things and see how you can help each other. But I think, of course, as a mentor, you've taken this upon yourself. You've committed to something, so you do have to engage. It's not just as a mentor about sitting back and having the mentee come to you and ask questions and kind of drain you. You have to get involved also.
Great. And I'll be sharing some also techniques at the end that's useful if you as a mentor feel that it's maybe difficult to get a conversation starting or to keep it focused on topics decided. Thank you. I think that underlines or really makes a point out of it being in the student is in the driver's seat. And now I wonder, you've had 2 coaches, right? Or mentees, right?
Yeah.
Ellen and another one. So okay, so now Ellen is with us today, but maybe you have an example from her or from the other mentee. But I wanted to ask you, is there anything you, thinking back at those 2 mentorships, is there anything you would have done differently? So we can also learn if there were any mistakes or things that you thought, I should have focused more on that.
Yeah, no. So I agree with Gustav said. You want to bring an agenda, and both Ellen and Emma have done that, which makes it easier to make sure it's a constructive time, because I am, offering my time, but I want to not. We can all have a nice chat, but we want to achieve something together, and I want to help them as much as I can. I think also my advice as a mentee would be look for regular connections. I'm sure Gustav is as busy as I am, and it's hard to, even though it's a really good conversation, but 2 months later, my goodness, what were we talking about, right? So I think I have noticed through my years working here and being both a mentee and mentor that every 6 weeks or so is quite a good rhythm to reconnect on. It's close enough so we remember what we talked about and the progression, and long enough so something has happened based on the discussion we had. So I would just advise mentees to do reach out and ask for, and if the mentor aren't able to provide that time that often, that's fine too, of course. But I think there's a regularity, a balance, or a rhythm in the dialogue. I think is helping it to make it more complete or comprehensive, versus kind of shotgun things you can chat about in that relationship.
So would you say, I mean, because we say that you should meet digitally or live, but at least like 4 times during this year, but you also have other check-ins between those times you meet? Yeah,
so we've had, I mean, more regular meetings than just 4 times. I don't know, Ellen, I don't remember how many times we met, but I think it's about 6 weeks in between, which has worked well for us. And I think it allows for a little more insight into what's going on with the mentee, and a little more continuity in that coaching, or hopefully some help. And I'm saying that, I don't know, but so that would be my advice. Be structured and be thoughtful of what you want to use the time for the best for you as the mentee, and have a regularity in the relationship.
Great. So regularity, and as I wanted to make sure that I mean, we say at least four times you meet during this year, but it's of course up to you. That was just like a bottom line, so to say. So we have some direction there. So I wanted to ask you one final question, and it's going to be a short one, and I'm going to ask you to just like say, what are the 3 most important factors for nurturing a good mentorship in your experience? Gustav, we start with you.
I think we mentioned some of them already, but I would say it's about
top 3.
Yeah, it's about giving from both sides.
Yeah.
In different ways. It's about trust. There's both sort of a confidentiality part of it, but it's about trusting each other. And then I think it's about challenging and involving your mentee. I mean, all my mentees have come to my offices and kind of seen what I do and how it works. And at the same time, it's not about just saying yes, yes, yes. I mean, I think all my mentees have said, yes, I want to be a banker or a management consultant, because that's what everyone wants to be. And then you're like, no, okay, is that really what you want? So really kind of push back and tell them that, why is it that you want this? And really go back and think about, is this what's best for them? Or is it just because they think that's what it should be?
The student bubble.
Yeah.
Thank you. Give, trust, and challenge.
Yep.
Okay, Anita, your top 3.
How can I beat that?
You can echo if you like.
I will echo. The one thing that came up to my mind, maybe it's a little bit American, but kind of show up, right? All in. I think that's a good advice. And also I think Gustav mentioned it too, a little broader, thinking about more holistically, because there's a lot you can talk about, and help. I don't know, top 3 help with that broader perspective in life, and with the professional life coming up. I don't know how you net that out.
No, but show up and broaden perspective, but also keep a focus on what's that's how so show up, broaden, and focus. Ellen, your top 3.
Yeah, I think the show up one is where I was going with the proactiveness of the student, and really taking action and steering the conversation. But I also think at the same time, it's important to remember to be a good listener, because they are here to give us advice. And even if it goes both ways, I think there's so much to gain from being a good listener, especially in these types of situations. And then thirdly, just remember that there is not like one right way of doing a mentorship. Just make sure that you're on the same page with your mentor, and I think you will have a blast.
Yeah, wow, you will have a blast. I'll let that be your final word. Beautiful. So I take that like final note as improvise to your according to your wish, the relationship. Listen and show up, as Anita said as well. Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you so much, Anita, and thank you so much, Gustav, for sharing so beautifully. I hope that this was useful for those of you who are now about to embark for the first or maybe third or fourth time as a mentor. I get words from my dear colleagues here that we're moving on in the program. We're coming back to the breakout rooms that I promised would happen around now, but we will do that a little later on because we're still dividing you into those beautiful relevant groups. So I thought we'd fast forward a little and just talk about the roles as a mentor and as a mentee. And so what is a mentor really? Is it someone who is like Yoda, who is the master of it all? Or is it the genie in the bottle who will grant you 3 wishes and your wish will be the mentor's command? Or is it the fairy godmother who will grant you that dream job? I don't think so. Maybe mentor is all of those things, but I think that if we take the help of the Oxford Dictionary, it's defined as someone who's an experienced and trusted advisor. And I also think that it's someone who shares a lot, information, shares their knowledge, shares their network, but it's also someone who shares about the working culture. Like Gustav said, he mentioned that he brought some of his mentees to work, or they all came to see what it's actually hands-on in his office. I know some of you will be mentoring from a distance and that may not be possible, but just sharing what's it really like in working life and how do you balance that with everything else you want to have in your life. So I wanted to say that though you are all, I'm sure, very extremely successful people who are joining this program as a mentor, we would mostly like to hear about other things than your successes, about your failures, your challenges, the things that you can actually really learn from as a mentee. So above all of these, Yoda qualities that you might have as well, we think most of all that it's important that you are human and show your human side to work life. So having just said that, we move on to another human in the mentorship program, which is the mentee. So what is your role as a student in mentorship program? We know that there's so many other things you could do with your time, like the mentors, but you've now decided to become a mentee. So we think it's super important that you set a goal for why you're in this program. And as a coach, this is something I often or always work with. For each session, we set a goal and think about that now already before your first session, I would say. And also for the first session with your mentor, make sure that you talk about expectations, so you can actually manage the expectations and check in about that. They should be realistic, both the goals and the expectations, of course. And like we heard from the panel as well, the importance of preparing and having an agenda and ideas about what you really want to focus on is going to secure that you're not just chit-chatting away this time with your mentor, but you're actually focusing on something that you want to get out of this. So you're really in the driver's seat. And another factor that was mentioned by the panel was this factor of trust. a trusted discussion with your mentor, and that's also based on this idea of being authentic and raw, and really sharing challenges and failures and maybe disappointments or things you have to are afraid that you will have to give up or something like that. And of course, I do not need to say this as a teacher, saying that you commit and you show up, because showing up is both showing up, being present, but it's also really showing up to the sessions. Like, you're not wasting your mentor's time, right? But I don't need to say that to you guys. No. Okay, anyways, I think we've talked a lot about, we've learned from the mentor panel, some of the key qualities of a thriving mentorship that we've identified throughout the years as well. And like Ellen said, it's important to listen to the mentor, but it's also important for the mentor to listen to the mentee, that goes both ways, the active listening. Maybe you're listening so much that you're listening between the lines. What's that mentee really trying to say? And again, vulnerability, sharing openly, showing empathy, and really allowing this time for reflection. But not to get stuck in just reflection. It's also about taking action. And having a mentor is a great way of having someone who holds you accountable to things you commit to. Keep an open mind. Okay. Now the next slide, I just wanted to share some principles that I find really useful when I coach, and it's the drilling or deepening of a reflection or a thought or ambition, and then it's also the catapulting, the getting things going. So about the drilling, there are 3 techniques that I wanted to share that are always very useful. One is, it's not rocket science, any of this, but one is ask open questions. So questions that you can't say yes or no to. Questions that start with how about, or what about, or would it be possible, etc. So open questions. And then another really powerful thing is also to repeat questions. And like Gustav was saying before, like, okay, so maybe someone thinks that they want to become a banker or a consultant, but is it really what you're longing for? And just repeating a question could really help a mentee getting in touch with that, a deeper truth, so to say. So it could be as simple as asking, what is important to you in life? Thank you. What is important to you in life? What is important to you in life? So you keep on repeating the same question. It sounds silly, but it's a really powerful tool. Okay. And then the third thing is to, once the mentor has, or mentee has said something, you're kind of coming to the end of a reflection, just asking that, is there anything else? That's a really powerful tool. Simple but powerful. Okay, and then about the catapulting part of your discussions about getting things going and action happening, then it's super useful to just ask at the end of a meeting, what are your key takeaways? Agree on what are the next steps, maybe writing them down even, and about deadlines. Again, this accountability. So next time you connect, you check in on the next steps that were decided and if these like deadlines were met. Okay, so those are the tips and tricks I wanted to share. We have some information about practicalities and things like that, but now I look at my dear colleagues and wonder if the breakout sessions are ready. Okay, so I broadcasted very long now, for long, and we will give now the floor back to you with the breakout sessions, and you will be divided into your pairs with other pairs as well. So there'll be about 6 or 7 of you in the groups, and we shall let you know when it's time to come back. You'll be ushered back to us in about 10-15 minutes. And during this time, you will be able to discuss, what would you think is important for an inspiring mentorship? So what do you think is important for an inspiring mentorship? There's no right or wrong answer. From the top of your mind, discuss together for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you will be ushered back into this bigger group again once that is over. So welcome, you're all dropping back into, as you're dropping back into the big room, I'm going to be repeating this, but as you see on the screen that it would be so interesting to hear something about what was going on in those discussions in the breakout rooms. So as you're all coming back now, if you'd like to share just one word in the chat of what is important for an interesting mentorship. And I see you sharing trust, connection, honesty, communication, commitment, honesty, openness, open mind, sharing, honesty. Wow. Yeah. Open-mindedness, agenda, authenticity, sincerity. Beautiful. Sharing experiences and feeling. Walk and talk. Yeah, that's a brilliant Corona-safe thing to do. Long-term relationship focus. Great. Keep on writing. I am scrolling and I have another 55 to go, so I'm not gonna read all of them. But test ideas, curiosity, boost self-confidence of the mentee, authenticity, sharing. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I really hope that you will bring with you these words and some of the factors that you discussed in the breakout rooms. I hope that you were not brutally interrupted in a nice discussion you had there when we asked you to come back into this big group. But anyways, you will soon enough have the opportunity to continue those discussions, mentors and mentees. So now we just have a few slides to go until it's 6 o'clock, and I hope I'll be able to manage that and just look at some practicalities of the program. You have all probably read this already on the website or information spread by us, but we wanted to really draw your attention to the next step here of the ball being in the student's court, and that we really encourage you to contact your mentor. Why not reach out this evening even, or at least before the 25th of October, to set your first date and decide when you're going to meet and where. So you have that kind of settled, and then prepare that agenda before you meet. We also wanted to share point you in the direction of some more support if you want to find out more about what you could think or get inspiration for your mentorship. We have a handbook that will or has been distributed to you all, and that will also be available on our website. And I also wanted to just mention that this year, news for those of you who are mentors, we will organize a few sessions, 2 or 3 sessions with interesting speakers that we call mentor skills development sessions. And we will engage very interesting researchers, possibly external speakers as well, but researchers from the SSE. And first up, on the 24th of November, save the date, is very interesting and engaging Lena Lid Falkman, who is doing research on how to create digital engagement person to person. So digital relations, I'm sure many of you will be meeting over Zoom or Teams or something like that. So how to really create that connection, which will also be useful for your other teams that you're in, hopefully. Lena Lid Falkman, 24th of November. I also wanted to draw your attention to the SSE Career Hub, where you find support such as CV and cover letter guides and things like that, especially for the students, and where you also find job ads, etc. So Career Hub, you'll find it on hhs.se/career and log in with your student ID. And now I wanted to also introduce Yushen Wu, who is my dear colleague. And can you make sure everybody? Hey. I think you're circled now, spotlighted. So Yushen is the amazing woman who is hiding behind mentor at hhs.se, and she's the one who is project leading this whole program. So I'm very grateful that you are doing that, and so don't hesitate to reach out to Yushen if you have any questions. And on that note, I don't know if you have any questions at this point, and we have just a few minutes to go until it's 6 o'clock. So if anyone wants to unmute and ask a live question, or if you want to ask something in the chat, we're open for that. And many of the questions that you might have, you'll anyway possibly find the answers to that in the handbook. So we can really recommend you have a look there. Wow, we covered it all. There are no questions. Okay, so just on a final, I don't know if I can get the slides back somehow. The final picture I wanted to close this session off with today is for those of you who have been at Sveavägen 65 in the atrium lately. You've probably seen this beautiful statue. You can't see the magnitude of it in this picture, but it's called Leap of Faith, and it's by Maria Meisenberger, who's from Lund. I think it nicely illustrates this idea that you can take on challenging things and take a leap of faith, and hopefully with the support of a mentor, that could be easier. And if you remember in the beginning, I talked about FREE, the educational mission of SSE, which is then based on this notion or quote from Ingmar Hedenius, the Swedish philosopher, which says that those who are free and curious at ease in an uncertain world it will be easier for you to live. And the way you become free, curious, and at ease in an uncertain world is to be supported by your training, your education, higher education. And we really hope that this mentorship program supports you to be free, and that it can help you take those kind of leap of faith in the future. So with that, I would just like to close our session today and wish you the best of luck. And like I said, we are here for you if you want to ask any questions in the future. Okay, thank you now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.